Alright, here we go. What's up, guys? This is Micah. Just thought I'd make a tutorial. I had some emails from some of you guys on YouTube and MySpace asking for help with audio engineering and basic questions about Pro Tools in general, and I thought I'd make some tutorials to help you guys out. So here we go. Okay, so first thing I like to do is when I sit down at a workstation that's a Pro Tools station, in this case it's Pro Tools LE, it's not mine or it's a brand new station, I like to set it up. And what I like to do is, today we're going to talk about basically the I/O setup and setting up your buses and naming them appropriately, your Midi Studio and making sure your devices are properly working, and how to set up a basic aux track that will be able to manage your effects and delays and etc. more efficiently. So let's go into the I/O setup. So I'm gonna hit setup here. I'm gonna go to I/O, and basically I/O is your input and output setup that Pro Tools uses to name all of the little inputs and outputs, inserts and buses that it uses throughout your process. I like to go in here and to have a custom made busing that I use before I start any project, whether it's a mix project or a tracking project. I like to name these buses. They're default named by numbers. It says like bus 23 and 24, and to me that doesn't mean anything, so I like to name them something more intelligible, so when you get more into your mix or into your project, you don't have to spend time going, now what was bus 9, 10 going to? What was bus 25, 26? You know, that's just a waste of time. And it's just a pain to deal with. So what I like to do is name all of my buses with effects that I know I'm going to use. So let's say I want to set up a hall reverb. So I can double click on this and just type hall reverb, and what that's going to do is it's going to assign the bus 23 and 24 to a name called hall reverb. Now if I hit expand, you could see that it's automatically assigned left and right because it's a double signal, being a stereo signal, the buses are, and contains two mono. And you don't have to use the stereo. You can use one side for one thing and then the other side for another thing. So more on that later. And you can go in here and you can rename these also, like small reverb, big reverb, if you have different mono reverbs. And you can actually go and delete these subpaths also. Okay, so you can go ahead and name these anything that you want. I like to put a couple of reverbs here, some delays, a chorus section where I chorus things for my background vocals, different reverbs, different delays. Drum mix is very important. I also like to put a monitors bus and a mixdown bus. Very important when bouncing your track to an audio track. I never bounce to disk in Pro Tools, and I haven't for maybe 5 years now. So, and I'll show you how to do that later, but basically this enables me to put my mix and bounce it in real time in the project window itself, and I can look at the waveforms, I can do my edits and fades and all that good stuff. Okay, and nothing gets lost. So let's hit OK. Second thing that I want to show you is setting up your Midi Studio. Now if you click MIDI and hit Midi Studio Setup, this is going to bring you to the section where Pro Tools interfaces all of your input devices, such as your MIDI keyboards, your workstations, your MPC, your input devices. Here, without this section here, the Pro Tools won't be able to understand who is who and what is what. So basically, let's say I want to add I don't know, what's the what's that new, I don't have it, but I think it's called the Korg Radius, like that new instrument. So I hit click instrument, and I'm gonna call this Korg Radius. Something that I want on my wish list. If you guys have it, please give me a call. Okay, so Korg Radius. You know, they don't even have it, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna call it Korg Rack. Big deal. Okay, you can always change it. Radius, whatever. And let's say I hooked it up, and assuming I hooked it up properly, I hooked it up to my one of my MIDI devices. This is the default MIDI device on the back of my recording device. In this case, it's the MBox 2 Pro. I also have another MIDI device, which is the Midi Sport 2x2, and one more MIDI device, which is the Axiom 25 keyboard, which is an input device. So let's say I hooked up my Radius to my Midi Sport, and using the appropriate cables, I hooked it up input to output. I'm going to assign the input A and output also A. This makes a complete chain and should talk to Pro Tools correctly. The send and receive channels I leave as is because I would like to use all 16 channels. And I'm going to hit close. Now when you make a new track, Control-Shift-N brings up your new track dialog box here, and you can go ahead and change this to MIDI track. Let's say I make a MIDI track here, and I'd like to call up my new Korg Radius. I want to see if it's working. So I'm going to go to the output section and hit Korg Radius and assign it to channel 1. Now, in real life, I have this hooked up to my Motif keyboard, my Yamaha Motif, and it's just pretending to be the Korg Radius because remember I changed the name. Now, when you hit this record arm button, if I did this correctly, I should see MIDI signal when I start playing keys. So there you go. So if you're seeing this when you're hitting your MIDI device, you pretty much almost there. I'm going to go into MIDI discussion a little bit later, and that's a whole other tutorial because there's a lot of frustration with MIDI, especially if you're first starting out with Pro Tools or any DAW. You know, if you're working with that, it's really confusing to get started. Anyway, okay, so let's go into the options, and I'm going to show you something that I like to use here for preferences, a little quick tweak that's going to save you a lot of headache and memory. So if you go to operation, if you're recording pop tracks or R&B or hip hop or any popular tunes, you're going to want to limit this to just 8 minutes at the very most, or even 6 minutes. I think the default is 30 minutes. Basically, this allocates all the memory that you need to use for your song, and so you're not wasting any extra memory. So I hit OK, and that's set up. And I think that's pretty much it for some of the knit and grit setup for Pro Tools. There's a lot of other things that you can do, but I'm running out of time here. I want to separate this out so that way you guys can call it up later. But yeah, I guess that's it for now. If there's any questions, just let me ask. Go ahead and comment away, and I'll try to get to your questions as they're asked. Thanks.